Hello, hi, welcome back to more One Piece stuff, where we're actually gonna be looking at the last 3 of my One Piece decks that are currently actually in rotation. Things that are once the ban list, or well, we don't know what the ban list is gonna be yet. As of recording of this, we don't know what the ban list looks like. But as of like rotations, these are the decks that are going to be going into rotations, or that are going to be standard legal. As far as like order of how we're going to look at this stuff, we're going to be looking basically from left to right. Emu being probably the most consistent, like pretty close to what you would expect to see from Emu. Really nothing crazy going on here. There's some variations, but it's mostly like 45% of the cards are basically what you expect to see. Crocodile, similar case, about 40 or 35 cards is about what you would expect to see. And then Nami's probably the one that has the most changes. It's the most unlike any other decks, and it's also the one that is incomplete right now, just because like right now to get my hands on Nami's, Robin's, and I also I forgot to order my searcher event for the Nami, the new Nami searcher event. So that's coming in the mail. That's going to show up in like a couple of days or so. But yeah, also I'm kind of also on the fence about even keeping this assembled. The reason why I'm thinking about keeping it assembled is because I have the young girls in here. They were I got them for cheap, which is what makes me want to sell them. But I also know that reprints for EBO3 are coming in the future at some point, and the prices are going to eventually drop to a more to a more appropriate price. Like prices for Nami and Robin are going to drop to something a little more appropriate. I'm hoping with that second wave of reprints coming in like a month or two. But other than that, yeah. So I'll show you. We'll get started, because I don't imagine this is going to take as long as the first one. The first time we did 4 decks, and there were a lot more cards to talk about. Well, more interesting cards to talk about. Things that you may or may not see. Things that I had to justify a little bit. Here, there are basically cards that you would expect to see. Only like a handful of tech choices. And same as last time, we're dealing with the same accessories as we're dealing with the mage techs. With the Gamegenic hard case. Dragon shields, well technically, well yes and no with dragon shields. Let me see, hold on, I'll get these out and then I'll talk about it. Funny thing is, okay, so I say this is standard legal, but it's technically not standard legal, because funny thing is they made a rule update where you can't have triple sleeve cards. And as you can tell, well, you probably can't tell, but all of these are triple sleeve. So I have the inner sleeve, I have the decorative middle sleeve, and then I have an outer sleeve to protect the decorative inner sleeve. And on top of that, this Emu sleeve is a menace, because somebody recently showed that that you could theoretically, because of how glossy the actual card is, I don't know if I'll be able to pull out the sleeve by itself. Let me see if I can just get the sleeve. The One Piece sleeves are a little hit or miss. Come on. Oh, there we go. So as you can tell, it is like as glossy as hell, and then because of that, it's extraordinarily easy to see. I don't even know if I can demonstrate it. There might not be enough light here. I might not be in the right lighting situation to actually see, but the running theory is that because these sleeves are so glossy, you were able to see the card above it or below it, giving you a unfair advantage. And as you can see, they weren't wrong when they said these things are glossy as hell, because they get very dirty. Obviously having the dragon outer sleeves fixes that issue, because it's no longer glossy as hell, and you definitely wouldn't be able to see a card theoretically. Like it's theoretically harder to see what that card would have been. But yeah, so if I wanted to play this in a tournament, I would actually have to re-sleeve this whole deck, which is hilarious. And I'm not even against the idea, because like as you see, it's like really unruly. Where like this feels like almost like a commander deck in hand with how thick the actual 50 card deck is. Like it's insane. It's insanely thick. And this is after like all the flattening, because I used to have one of those foam inserts in here to get all the air out of the sleeves. So that did help a little bit, but overall this is still like a fat stack of cards. But anyways, that's more or less it as far as like unique accessories. Everything else is like dragon shields, unless I accidentally run into something. So either. Oh, also I have to talk about the leader, because as you can see, I have the alt art emu. Not very interesting to look at. As you can see, you can see the reflection on this very easily. Like, this is very obvious what I'm looking at here, or what you're looking at technically. But I actually got a Paper Dawn alt leader, which is the what is it? What's the name? The guy who used to do customs, who used to do a bunch of customs. Paper Dawn was in collaboration with a. I can't remember. I can pull the card out and look at the back and know what the name is. But Paper Dawn, who is the artist that did this one, was in collaborations with the distributor that did custom art dons or custom leader cards. And as you can see, there's a lot of really cool texturing in this. And I really hope, because that person that was making the alt arts, the alt leaders, has stepped away from it, so they're not going to be doing this. And I'm hoping that Paper Dawn will be able to continue with the same thing, like, but they can still do these like crazy textured leaders and stuff like that, while still keeping their art style the same. I really love their art style. I think it is like right in line with what I like to see from One Piece. I like seeing the characters a little sillier, a little more cartoony. I'm not a big fan of like big menacing eye, so this kind of does a better job of like, ooh, spooky, but not really. But either way, if you don't know what emu does, emu is pretty unanimous with, or pretty anonymous with the entire player base. I'm pretty sure for like less than $50 you can put this deck together. But in case you don't know what it does, let me make sure I'm on the come on, where is, I have this thing, like, come on, there we go. All right, now I can read it. So it says, under the rules of this game, you cannot include events with the cost of 2 or more in your deck, and at the start of the game, play up to 1 Marie Joie type stage card from your deck. Activate main. Once per turn, you may trash 1 card from your, trash 1 of your Celestial Dragon type characters, or 1 card from your hand, draw 1 card. So cycler for your hand, and basically has a built-in second leader with its leader ability, which of course we're going to talk about as well, because as much as this is your leader, these are your leaders as well, because this is basically a parasitic leader design where it basically functions off of these two. So we'll talk about the less popular one, which, funny enough, is the one that's alted out, is Marie Joie. This is the original Marie Joie from OP05. And it says, your turn. Let's see. The cost of playing Celestial Dragon type character cards with a cost of 2 or more from your hand will be reduced by 1. So this reduces the base costs from your hand. So very similar to like the 2K counter blocker Sanji, where in your hand it automatically reduces its own cost. So that's basically what this stage is doing. And the more important stage, the one that probably everyone, the only reason why this leader is as powerful as it is because of this stage, which is in contestant. It's a runner-up to be actually banned in the current format. So pretty soon this may or may not be banned. So we'll find out in like a month or 2. So empty throne. Empty throne. Your turn. If you have 19 or more cards in your trash, your leader gains 1k power. And activate main. You may rest this stage and 3 of your Dawn cards. Play up to 1 black, 5 Elder type character with a cost equal to or less than the number of Dawn cards on your field from your hand. So the reason why that's so powerful is basically this is basically a Celestial Dragon deck, and they all are going to cost you 3 Dawn. Minus the 10 drop. The 10 drop is going to cost you 3 Dawn, and then a 4th Dawn to actually activate its ability. So all your Elders are 3 Dawn. Your 10 drop is technically 4 Dawn. And it's extremely good rate of return. So that's why all this works so well together. The cycling alone is probably not enough to actually make this leader worth it. Well, cycling and character trashing to draw a card. So like, for instance, if you played out your searcher, you could trash your searcher from the field to draw once you're done searching. But those are just like minor play things that you do. On top of that, actually, before we move on, I'm just gonna flip it to that one because I really like the alt proxy leader. I have probably the only set of Gold Dawn I will ever actually own is the original, well, I mean, the first like publicly available Gold Dawn, which is the Roger Dawns. And I'm extra, like, for if I was going to get a standard set of Gold Dawn, I'm really glad it ended up being Roger, that they made like publicly available to everybody. As we see, like, since OP13, Gold Dawn are now just a part of every set now. So you're gonna get a Gold Dawn card in every set as just a chase piece. So these don't tend to cost a lot now. Like, currently we have, what is it, the Egghead Gold Dawn and the Mihawk Gold Dawn, which I believe are below 20. These have dropped astronomically. These started at 40 bucks, and these are basically now less than 10 bucks a pop. Granted, still a pretty big pill to swallow, considering you have to have 10 Dawn, but honestly way better, because these were introduced, Gold Dawns were introduced in the premium booster sets, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, where every leader in the premium booster, like every leader up to that point, I believe, had a Gold Dawn, and if it didn't, premium booster volume 2 gave them a Gold Dawn. So every leader technically has a Gold Dawn available to them, but the pull rates are so difficult in premium booster that the prices are astronomical. Like, the lowest starting price for a Gold Dawn of like a specific leader, I think, is Kairos, and it's like 40-ish bucks starting price. Like, that's the lowest of the previous Gold Dawns. Now we have these generic Gold Dawns that they're starting to add to the packs, and I'm pretty happy for it, because now, like, basically anyone can get these. Let me see if I can I actually show you the texture? You can see a little bit that the actual Dawn has a tiny bit of texturing in it. Like, I think the actual black outlines are actually raised as well, and then you have the golden sunburst on the border and everything. Like, it's honestly, I would recommend this if you ever want a set of Gold Dawn. This is the one I would go after. Very easy to get your hands on. I was able to pick that up in person. Like, all 10 of those Dawns I got in person, so I'm very happy to have them in the deck. How am I gonna do this? The funny thing is also, like, these barely fit in here. As you can hear, it's like easily scraping the sides of the wall. Like, there's like not a lot of wiggle room for these, so I have to always be careful when putting these away. Unless I put them away like this, I would have to put them away like this, ending that way, which you can do technically. So first card we're going to look at is probably the first tech card of the emu list that people are probably going to be a little sus of, but I've had success with it and I like it in the list, so we'll talk about it. It is Mancherry. Mancherry is a 1-drop 0k counter. No, 1-drop 0k power, 1k counter. Activate main, tap 1 Dawn. You may rest this character. Place 2 cards from your chest to the bottom of your deck in any order. Add up to 1 black character card with a cost of 3 to 5 from your trash to your hand. The primary reason why I'm running this at 2, we do have a couple of elders and a couple of like tech cards. Well, no, because most of our tech cards are like 1-drops. And our elders are going from what, 4-drop to 7-drop, from 4 to 7. So we can pretty much hit some of our elders. Our blocker, we like, what's it, War Curry and Saturn are 2 of our elders that we can put back into our hand. Not a big deal. The reason why I'm choosing to run this is the first activation effect, which is rest this, place 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck. As we know, there's Shirahoshi. People run the 2k Shirahoshi just to put cards back into the deck, which 90% of the time they tend to be like your elders and your 10 cost elder and your like events, stuff like that, like it never existed, or your ground deaths. So that's why I like running this in the place of like Stussy, or recently Kaido. The 9-drop Kaido has been put into the list in this spot. What is it? There's also that GARP event that has also been put in this spot. I think it's also a pretty low Dawn commitment. It's like 2 Dawn to actually use the ability. So even if you use the ability, you play the 10-drop elder, or you do that, you're not really down that much Dawn. You still have like what, 4 Dawn, I believe, left open if you do this whole song and dance. So it's not a bad card to play on curve. Well, it's not a bad card to play with your 10-drop elder, because you don't really mind losing this. Even early game, if you've milled over your elders, or if you had to trash your elder from hand, you could get it back into the deck at the end game point. So this has been pretty versatile for me. I like it. it's low enough cost to where I don't feel really burnt by playing it early on or later on in the game. Our next card is going to be the Saint Sharia. And as you can tell, this is the more recent alt art that just came out from one of the premium Bandai binder foil alt art things that they've done within the past couple of years. So this is our searcher. It's a 1-drop, 0k power, 1k counter, on play. Look at the top 3 of your deck, reveal up to 1 Celestial Dragon type card other than this, and add it to your hand. Then trash the rest and trash 1 card from your hand. So when I first was playtesting this, I got the playtest Emu before it got here into the West, even before it was in the East. I got the playtest Emu with the reveals. And this was my biggest hiccup. This is the card that I would constantly misplay because it doesn't act like a normal searcher. It's a trashing searcher. Let me double check. Yeah, trashing searcher. But then it also wants you to trash another card from hand. So it's very detrimental to play. But in something like Emu, you really don't mind because you also get to, you know, refund the card that you played by using leader ability to trash this to then draw. And then ultimately you want cards in your trash, so it doesn't really hurt that much. But it was a very difficult, like this was my first learning curve using the Emu deck, is actually getting to use this and understanding its value in the deck. Our next one is going to be another tech card. I think a tech card that pretty much everyone is used to seeing in Emu, and that's the Shirahoshi. A lot of people play this at like 2. I'm playing it at 4. I don't know why you would, because in case you don't have your man cherries, you always have Shirahoshi to rely on refilling your deck. So Shirahoshi, 1-drop, 0k power, 2k counter, activate main. You may rest this character and place 2 cards from your chest to the bottom of your deck in any order. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand. So this thing is like, you want to use the entire part of this card. Like everything on this card is relative. So it trashes a card from your opponent's hand. It recycles 2 cards from your trash to your deck. And it's a 2k counter. This is basically never dead. And it's a 1-drop. So 1-drop, very easy for Emu to play down and still keep defenses up. But yeah, great. That's why I'm running it at 4. I think this is just something you have to see. And you have to draw into it, which is not impossible with the leader ability of cycling your hand. But not being able to search it out, I think it's mandatory at 4. Because you definitely want to see it. It's a good way to control your opponent's hand and to recycle your deck. Next one is Mjosgard. Mjosgard is another 2k counter. This is purely just a searchable 2k counter. I'm putting it at 2 because we can always search it up if we ever need it. If we don't want Jupiter, yeah, I think it's Jupiter. Jupiter is the 7-drop. If we don't want Jupiter, we can always pick this up as a 2k counter in hand. And it's a 2-cost 0k power, 2k counter on play. If you have 3 or less life cards, place up to 1 Mary Joie type stage with the cost of 1 from your trash. It says play up to. Okay, so if you ever mill over your stage and you want to play it for some reason, you could do that. But this is primarily just a searchable 2k counter in the deck. It doesn't serve much more purpose than that. That's why it's at a 2 of. Don't really need to see it. And our next one gives me a good opportunity to talk about how I have exactly 1 alt art. I have 1 alt art of each of the elders. They're getting to a price that is very reasonable now to pick up, because right now they're about 20 or less for each elder, which is a great sign. Great sign for me, because a lot of people are anticipating that the deck is going to get hit with some kind of ban. I tend to agree. I think something is going to get hit in Emu, but I don't think it needs to get something hit, but I think it will get hit. So Saint Saturn is a 4-drop, 5k power, 1k counter, and then all the characters are going to have the same ability of, if you have 7 more cards in your trash, this character cannot be removed from the field by your opponent's effects. This is incredibly busted. This is what makes the Elder engine so powerful, I think. Well, it makes it that 1 step closer to being like OP, is the fact that it basically negates all forms of removal, which forces your opponent to now play like freeze abilities, rest abilities, stuff like that, which is why we're seeing more of that out in the field of, like, you know, we're freezing characters now, we're resting characters now, all that kind of stuff. So no longer we can bottom deck, no longer we can bounce. I mean, you could still bounce, but definitely not against Emu. You're gonna have to find other ways to interact with his board. But anyways, the actual on-play ability is look at the top 5 of your deck, reel up to 1 5 elders, and add it to your hand, then place the rest to the bottom of your deck. What's nice about this is that it can search for itself, so it's never a dead search. You're always going to end up finding something with 5 elders, because like 90% of your deck is 5 elders. And The art, if I remember correctly, it was made by Gigi, right? Hold on, it's too small for me to read, and that's too blurry for me to see. I believe it's Gigi, the manga artist of Jujutsu Kaisen, who did the five elders in their like demonic form, in their whatever they're gonna end up calling this, their awakening form, whatever this is. And honestly, the camera's never gonna do justice to how awesome these cards look in person. The only thing that looks cooler than this is the demon pack alt of this same exact art, where they don't have the black borders, they have like the pentagram up here as part of the cost thing. It looks so much better when you look at like the SP version. We'll call it SP version because that's kind of what they are. They're just hard to pull. Like it's only in the demon pack, which is what the fan base has named the god pack that comes with the emu leader and the five elders alt. And it's awesome. I'm hoping that when bans happen, I'm really banking that bans happen, that they get rid of the 7 cost stage, so that all of these alts are like $5, so I can alt this out for like $50. That would be the dream. That would honestly be the dream, because I don't care. I like this leader. I think this leader is cool. Even if they ban this stage, I don't care. I would still play this just because like I think it's still a cool deck to have. Still very story relevant. Obviously, Emu being essentially the final boss of the whole thing. Actually, why don't I have I don't know why I've been putting the cards away. I should definitely have the cards out so people can actually see. You basically know what this is. So I feel like these two, like these three, are just basically one big leader, and then everything here are just like one-ofs. Yeah, normally I have the cards out. I don't know why I didn't put the cards out this time, just in case if people want to actually see what the deck list is looking like. There we go. That's more appropriate instead of me trying to hide them. And as you can guess, I mean, of course I have one of each of the elders. So I have Top Man. Warcurry is a 4-drop 5k power 1k counter, has the ability of not only protecting itself from removal, but it also gains blocker. Something important to remember early game when you're playing this out, if you don't have the cards in trash, this does not become a blocker. And then it has the on KO of draw 1 card, slightly worse than Marco. Marco is on KO, draw 2 cards. It's also a blocker, but Marco does not have built-in protection, and Marco does not have a 1k counter. So you can do the math. Also, Marco's blue, so we couldn't even play that in this. That's what the normal art looks like. You've probably seen this everywhere. And then, of course, our next one is going to be Mars. Mars, there you go. I really love this card. This card has a lot of color, a lot of pop to it. Hopefully that translates through the video. Not sure if it will, but I really like the way this looks. This is so cool. But Marcus Mars is a 6 cost 5k power 1k counter. It has the protection and it gains blocker when you have the 7 cards in trash. On play, you may trash 1 card from your hand, K up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 5 or more, or 5 or less. So this is honestly, out of most of the elders, this is the one that probably could easily make it into most decks, like easily, because getting 7 cards in trash for most black decks is very easy. You can do it about as fast as Emu can do it. And on top of that, you get immunity, so it becomes a blocker that's immune. There's like, honestly, these 2 blockers you could probably play in most other lists and not feel weird about it. But being able to remove a body in response on your turn is quite nice. Only going down 1 card in hand, technically. Very worth it. And it's base cost, so anything like a Reiju that can adjust its own cost, or any character that can adjust its own costs, doesn't matter if because it only cares about base costs. Could also be limiting because we can't adjust the cost and then remove like we used to be able to do with like Sakazuki and Lucci and stuff like that. Oh yeah, also, like, in case you wanted to see what the art looked like, that's what he normally looks like, and he's not like wigged out like that. Anyways, our next one is, what is it, Ethan Baron. Ethan Baron is, or Ethan, because it's no Ethan Baron von Nosjuro. It's a little difficult for me to say, so Ethan is a little easier for me to say, which is quite funny because that's quite like a like that's just like a weird like white person name. Ethan. You probably know an Ethan at work. That's kind of like how common I think it is. So Ethan is a 6 cost 5k power 1k counter, It has the same thing where it gets immunity plus it gains rush if you have the cards in trash. And then it has a when attacking, if you have 10 or more cards in your grave or in your trash, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2k power during this turn. So this is probably the most interesting of the 5 elders. Very similar to like Marcus Mars, to where I could easily see this game played outside of the emu engine. And honestly, it has like really good stats. Like this is essentially a red card. This is a red card masquerading as a black card, and I'm a big fan of that, because not only does it gain rush, but it also makes a 2k difference. And then of course, if you have our next card, which is, we'll talk about that next, but this is like in general, like for 6, because you think like 6 costs for a 5k, that's bad, but for a 6 cost that basically turns itself into a 7k swing and has rush and it has counter in black, this is like something I can easily see. Even the new Lucci list that's going to be coming out soon with OP15. OP15, the new black Lucci, is probably going to want to play something like this, just because it's within that strategy of like manipulating your trash, going in aggressive with board. This is something I can easily see being played in most other lists. I'm surprised it's not played in most other lists, because it makes like a 2k difference when swinging. And then this one, honestly, Ethan looks really good just as like his base art. I think this is probably one of the stronger designs next to like Mars. Mars and Ethan both have like really good base arts, but obviously it's all about the alts for these guys. Let's see. It's so tough with sleeves to actually see the subtle details on video. But anyways, our next one is going to be Peter, right? Yeah, he's another one. Shepherd. You can either call him Shepherd or Peter, you know, both pretty like normal names, nothing crazy here. But Peter here is a 7 cost, 5k power, 2k counter, and it has the protection ability, where it has a your turn. If you have 10 or more cards in your trash, set the base power of all your 5 elder type characters to 7k power. So this is pretty cool, because this is altering the base cost of your characters on the field. This is protecting itself. It's a 2k counter. And other than that, I don't think there's much else going for this guy, because this is only good if you're paying the rest of the elders. This on its own cannot stand. Like, these two are probably the weakest of the 5 elders, where they really can't function without these 3, but these 3 can function individually by themselves. But man, when this hits the board, ooh, is this a big problem, because you're giving your entire board just like 2k buff, and then on top of that, your Ethan is swinging for like an extra 2k. So you're what, 9? There's a 9k like well, it's like a pseudo 9k. It's a 7k base, and then it gives something minus 2k. So that makes like, that's a pretty big difference in power. That's quite, for 6 Dawn, that's crazy. But of course you have to, you know, play it alongside this. And then of course with our next card, it would be very easy to play this. Make sure to give the next couple of cards their space. And then in case you wanted to see what Peter looked like, that's what Peter looks like. Nothing crazy. Our next one is going to be our 10 drop, the 5 elders. This is a card that is, if the 7 cost stage doesn't get banned, this is the next thing I would expect to get restricted to 1, I would assume. That's why, again, I got one of this. I got one of each just in case, because I really don't know what's going to happen with this whole thing. I don't know if this is going to survive bans. I don't know if the leader's going to get banned. I don't know what's going to happen to this deck. So I didn't want to like over invest into the emu list. Let me put the volume down a wee bit. How's that? I think that's okay. Okay. So anyways, yeah, here are the 10 elders. I don't want to immediately over invest into the emu deck, because like right now it's a bit up in the air what's going to happen to this whole deck. This is one of the lich pins. Like, without this card in the deck, none of this even matters. It doesn't matter that you have stage. Like, playing all these out for 3, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, but you would probably end up just cutting this potentially. I don't know. I mean, you would probably still keep the 1-1 ratio in case you're up against the mirror, because one of the events cares about stages. But regardless, the 5 elders, 10 drop, 12k power, no counter, and it has the ability. Also, the art of this one is a little harder to see. Here's the standard art. I'm not a big fan of the standard art. Let me show you. Let me see if I can get this one out. just so that you can see, because this one is so dark, it's difficult to actually see what's going on here. You can see a little bit of the swirling in the background with this art. This artist does really good work. I think this is the same artist that did like the alt art for Big Mom and the alt art for Whitebeard. Because the facial structure, like the shading and facial structure looks very similar. And I am unable to read that name because it is so difficult. Let's see. Maya Ken. Oh god. It's difficult for me to read the name. It's not blurry. Context. The name is not printed all blurry. I just have bad eyesight. So it's a little more difficult for me to like evaluate cards. I have other ways of evaluating the cards if I suspect that they're not real. But one of the easiest ways you can evaluate the card is by reading the print on the side, is by actually like seeing how clean and how crisp the thing is. I can tell that it's clean and crisp, but I definitely have a much harder time, especially right now, reading them. Maybe because of all the layers of plastic on top of it, it's a bit more difficult. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Yeah, I can... Sarana. I assume I'm butchering the pronunciation of that. But yeah, the several layers of plastic makes tiny text like that much more difficult to read. Anyways, let's actually read the stupid card. So, activate main. If your leader is Emu, you may rest one of your Dawn cards and trash one card from your hand. Trash all of your characters and play up to 5 Elders. Type character card with a power of 5k power and different card names from your trash. So there you go. Doesn't this also get like a minus 5k buff or minus 5k? Because I've noticed on the simulator, whenever you play this with the other cards on the field, it gets like a minus like 10k buff. Trash all the cards in your hand and play up to 5 Elder type cards with 5k power and different card names from your trash. No, I don't know why this gives itself a debuff when you play it. But anyways, there's the 5 Elders. Super cool card. Literally, like, these two, without these two cards, this deck does not function normally. So there you go. I really like this deck. This is a very fun deck to pilot. It's very easy, very unga bunga. You don't really need to think a lot. Well, I also disagree with that. It's easy to pilot if this is one of your main decks. If you do take a break from this, it can be difficult to do the play lines in your head, because that's what happened to me. I stopped playing this for a couple of months as like other decks were coming out, and I really just got tired of the matchups. So I switched off from this and started playing other things. And then when coming back to Emu, it was quite difficult to remember the play lines, like how do you react to your opponent's board? How do you react to your opponent's attacks? It's more so that, like, as far as like what you're playing, you kind of know what you're gonna play on curve, but it's just more so of how do you react to your opponent's moves is where I get kind of lost, where it's like, oh, my brain needs to think a little harder of if I'm going to take this hit, or if I'm going to let this hit go, if I'm going to let a body go or not, if I'm going to keep the body, if I'm going to play my Shiori, if I'm going to play my Mancherry, if I'm going to play my 10 Elders now, or if I'm going to wait. It's a lot of little things to think about in response to your opponent. But as far as like the piloting of the deck, like to actually play on curve, it's quite easy. Because by the end game, you're just like spamming these and just going for face as hard as you can. So there's kind of like a weird dynamic with this deck, where you're just trying to turtle down for like the first like 4 or 5 turns until you can play your 10 drop Elder, and then you get aggressive. That's always been my strategy with Emu. Anyways, first event is the 5 Elders are at your service. This is our searcher. It's very similar to Saint Sharia, but it doesn't make you trash cards from hand and all that extra stuff. So look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Celestial Dragon type card other than this, and add it to your hand, then trash the rest. So this is more standard traditional searcher. I like having this at 4. This is a great searcher to have. A little bit better than Sharia, but Sharia is a body that Emu can KO, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. The newest tech card that everybody's been adding to the list is Ground Deaths. As you know, this is probably one of my favorite events in Black, and I'm running it at 4. Some people run this at like 2 or 3. I think this is just an auto include of 4, because there's no reason not to. It's just another version of Never Existed, but slightly better in my opinion, because it has the effect of, so you pay 1, you rest 2 Dawn, and and then negate the effect of up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 5 or less during this turn. That, I have always said that is probably the biggest game changer for any black removal deck, is being able to turn off the ability of protection characters. Because there's a lot of characters out there that can protect, and they all tend to be less than 5. Granted, in this deck, there is no cost reduction, so it's either a 5 or bust, but beyond that, it's very easy. This is very easy to keep up. At the end of the day, it's a counter event, which has, if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, up to one of your leaders or characters gain 4k power during this turn or during this battle. So at best, it's a counter event. At worst, it's a negate your opponent's protection spell. I mean, I see no downside. I never see a downside with this. It's always worth playing. Honestly, it really is so much better than it never existed. And this is the only reason why you play this at 4, of course, is because it is searchable. It's very easy to search this out with your 3 different searchers. You can easily search over this. You can't really easily search over this. By the end of the game, you kind of want to bottom deck these, and you want to be bottom decking these so that you can redraw them by the end of your turn and always have your defenses up. That's why I love having Mancherry in this deck, because you are constantly putting these 3 cards to the bottom of your deck, and you're always guaranteeing that you're going to be drawing these 3 at any point. Like your last 3 or 5 cards will always be those 3. So that's why I love playing these 2 in the deck, and why I would always recommend playing a Mancherry, at least out of one of. But anyways, Never Existed is a 1-cost event that has a main. So you may rest 1 Dawn card, so turning this into a 2-cost event, main event. If your leader is an emu, KO up to one of your opponent's stages with a cost of 7. So exactly 7. It is laser pointed removal for your opponent's stage, which is why you run the 1-cost stage in the mirror match, because the answer to emu was printed specifically for emu. So Bandai does this a couple of times where the answer to the problem is in the same color, or in this case, the same leader. So it makes the mirror matches much harder, because then you're just having to use the 1-cost stage, or unless you just want to risk it. I don't think anybody ever wants to risk it. So that's why you run each at 1, because you get to choose. You get to choose at the start of the game which stage you want to play. If your opponent is playing emu as well, you just pick the 1-cost stage. Every other time you're picking the 7-cost stage. But yeah, this is the main reason why you never always auto pick this, because occasionally you will be going up against a mirror match where you have to play the 1-drop stage, and this is great for that. So there's the emu deck. There's the Dawn. As you can tell, pretty standard list. There's nothing going on here that is different or unique to how I'm building it. It's not as unique as the other decks I showed last time. I would definitely say though, the only real unique card here is the Mancherry, and it's just a 2-of. A 2-of Mancherry is not much of anything at all. You will probably not see it. You're more likely to see the Shirahoshi than you are the Mancherry. But regardless, there's the deck. I like it a lot. I think it worked out great for me. Hopefully, a part of me hopes that nothing gets hit, but a part of me hopes that something does get hit so that I can go buy the alt arts for a way cheaper price. Because man, these started at these started at around $40, these alts. So right off the bat, there was no way I was ever gonna buy these. But as time has gone by and people have more and more anticipated bans, the price of these dropped by a lot, by a whole lot. And I'm hoping that if something does get hit, it doesn't completely cripple the deck, because I do quite like playing emu. But even if the deck does get crippled, I mean, I'm still going to be playing it because I really like the leader. I think the leader's cool. The character, I mean, obviously, the ethics of the character are questionable at best. Obviously, being the secret superpower that causes literally all the problems in the world is not going to be a very nice character. Actual main villain, main arc villain, actual whole problem, the catalyst to every problem in the One Piece world is somehow connected to this man, or to this thing. we don't know what emu is. So next one. That took a lot longer than I was expecting. I'm a little surprised. Here it is. Next one is going to be our crocodile list. This is a lot more standard. And as you can see, I have the card divider here, the little thumb divider. I only have 2 of them, so I only use them sparingly. Here is the leader. Obviously, no alt art yet. I don't think I'm going to get one. This is just like a fun leader to play. Here, what the Dons look like. These are the original Crocodile Dons from like I think the first set when Blue Crocodile was released, or Blue Purple Crocodile was released. You can get your hands on these, and they're quite cool. I like them. And then on top of that, we'll look at the leader in a second, and then, you know, just regular sleeves, stuff like that. But anyways, let's look at the leader. The reason why I like this leader, why I choose to play this leader, is because it is a modern black deck that is really interesting to play. It has a lot of unique cards in the list, and it has a very unique leader ability. I would argue, I was gonna say very in the same vein as Rayleigh, but Rayleigh, I would argue, like, Crocodile and Rayleigh are very different design leaders, but they have like, they're like adjacent style design, but vastly different in execution. So Crocodile, other than being really dirty, don't tell me that's under this. Stupid things. No, I think I got it. Huh? Yeah, I got it. Okay, good. I was gonna be mad if that smudge was underneath the case. But anyways, Crocodile, 5 life leader, 5k power, and the effect is all of your opponent's characters cannot be removed from the field by your effects. So black not doing what black traditionally does, which is extremely weird. But in return, you do get this ability of activate main. Once per turn, you may KO one of your characters with the type including Baroque Works. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 10k cost during this turn. Then you may trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. So that part of it kind of does save it. It's very weird. Obviously, when this was revealed, nobody really understood what was going on, why it was doing the things it was doing, why was it killing its own stuff, but not killing the opponent's stuff. It's like a complete 180 from what traditional black decks were trying to do at this point. My only critique is that I wish it was not locked to Baroque Works. I really wish you could KO other stuff with your effects. Granted, there's not a lot of stuff that wants to be KO'd. Like there's some Dressrosa cards and like one Hina out there that wants to be KO'd or cares about KO'd things. But regardless, this is Crocodile. It's a very hyper specific leader that only works with its own cards in its own set. And we're about to see that. That's one of the reasons why this deck is like so on the rails, because basically they printed a whole deck in the set, and because of its weird effect, because it has such a unique effect, all the cards had to be printed with the set. So there really is no variation. There's like minute changes you can make with the list, very similar to Emu, but what they gave you out of the box is really good. I really like the direction they're taking this black list in particular. So our first card is Miss Wednesday. It's a 1 cost, 1k power, 2k counter. Let me put the volume down a little bit because that's definitely a little louder than I would like. All right, that's a little bit better. Up. There we go. So Miss Wednesday is a 2k counter, activate main. You may trash this character, give it to one of your opponent's 0 cost characters, 3k minus 3k power during this turn. So as you can see, immediately we're breaking the color pie with this card right off the bat. This is probably one of our better 2k counters that we're going to be playing off of another character, but this is basically a red card in disguise. Like very synergistic with the leader ability. It basically only works with the leader ability because it cares about a 0 cost character unless you're going to hit something that's like a 2 cost. Then maybe you can get it down to 0 a little bit easier with some of the other cards here. But regardless, there's not a lot of cost reduction in the deck. So a lot of the cost reduction is coming from your leader. But anyways, if your opponent does have a 0 cost character, you can give it minus 3k power during the turn. So anything that swung into you can clap it back much easier with this. Our next card is going to be Miss Valentine's. Miss Valentine is a 1 cost, 2k power, 1k counter. On play, if your leader type includes Baroque Works, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with the type including Baroque Works other than this, and add it to your hand, then trash the rest. So Miss Valentine's can't search itself, but it does search types including Baroque Works, and it is leader locked to leaders with the type including Baroque Works, which is super interesting. it's a top 4 searcher, so it's not the best searcher we've seen. And does it trash? Then trash the rest. So yeah, this digs 1 deeper than most trash searchers. But I just find it really interesting that this is very locked to the leader. So it makes me wonder that if we're gonna get more Baroque work leaders in the color black, like if we're gonna get like a black blue or, you know, black purple, something that's gonna care about the Baroque work characters that are in other colors. Very interesting to me. So I can definitely see this getting more use in the future. But other than that, it's just a searcher. It's a searcher that, you know, fills up the trash. Very similar to the emu list. We also have Shirahoshi, as we talked about literally a few minutes ago. Shirahoshi is basically here to put cards back to our deck. Specifically, the reason why we want this effect in this deck is because Crocodile is very infamous for almost milling itself out. If you're not careful with your leader ability and some of your other effects in this deck, you're very likely to either trash your entire deck or draw and trash your entire deck. It's very rare that you don't have more than like 20 cards by the end of the game. If you have 20 cards by the end of the game, you probably beat your opponent really fast, if I had to be honest. But yeah, Shirahoshi is just here for protection, just to make sure you don't mill out. And then of course, it's also hand hate for your opponent, which, you know, is the cherry on top of this ability. And then it's a 2k counter. But other than that, we run it at 4 because we can't search for it correctly, so we have to draw into it. And it's gonna save our butts from getting milled. So that's why I choose to run this. Our next card is gonna be Miss Golden Week. Is a 1 cost 3k power, 2k counter on KO, draw 2 cards, then trash 2 cards from your hand. This is basically Inupe. This is Inupe for Baroque works. Slightly worse than Inupe because I believe Inupe has an on play ability as well, like the same on play / on KO. So slightly worse than Inupe, but Inupe is not a 2k counter. And Miss Golden Week, good effect. You get to draw 2, trash 2, you get to cycle out your hand. No reason not to run that in the, you know, 2k package. That's basically our 2k package right there, or these 12 cards. So as you can tell, I'm not playing Miss Merry Christmas. I'm not a big fan of Miss Merry Christmas. I think people run her just for the stage hate, but I think that's about it. I think there's probably another reason why people play it, but I've just chosen to just max out Shirahoshi in response, because I'm like, either I'm gonna have this weird 2k counter that is searchable, or I'm gonna have like a good 2k counter that's gonna save me from decking out. So that was my thought process. Our next card is gonna be Mr. 2 Bond Clay. Is a 4 cost 5k power, 1k counter on KO. Play up to 1 character with a type including Baroque works with a cost of 5 or less other than this from your hand or trash. So super cool. What I love to see in black, where we have a character that can basically replace itself either from the trash or from hand. If it had blocker, I think it would be way more busted than it is. The nice thing is that it gets to play a character with 1 cost more, very similar to the green Hiyori. Green Hiyori, there's a card in green that's Hiyori, that's a 4 cost that basically does the same thing on KO, or no, on play. Hiyori is on play, trash this character, play a 5 cost from hand. This one plays from hand or from trash, but it cannot self KO itself. It's on KO, so you want to use your leader ability to KO this, to then play a 5 cost from hand, which we'll talk about in a little bit on who that character would be. Our next card is more of a tech card. Mr. 4 is a 4 cost 5k power, 1k counter blocker on KO. Up to 1 card with the type including Baroque works and a cost of 8 or less from your trash to your hand. So it's looking for 1 card that is Baroque works and that is at 8 costs or less. So it can't search out 2 things, it can search out 1 thing. And most of the time this is here, it's a 2 of, so it's not super important, but it is searchable, so we'll normally see it. But normally you want to use this to put your 8 cost Crocodile back to your hand. You're using it to get Mr. 2 back to your hand, using it to get Mr. 1 back to hand, and you're using it to get Miss All Sunday. Yes, to get Miss All Sunday back into your hand, I believe is what Robin's code name is. Speaking of Mr. 1, Mr. 1 is the next card. Is Mr. 1 Daz Bones, 5 cost 6k power, 1k counter. If there's a character with 0 costs or with a character with 8 or more, okay, a character with a cost of 8 or with a cost of 8 or more, this character can attack characters on the turn which it was played. This is Character Rush, which is a new keyword they just added. On play, burst up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. Again, combos amazingly well with Miss Wednesday, so when we get to the 7 cost, Miss All Sunday. Once we get to Miss All Sunday, basically the combo is play Miss All Sunday, play Mr. 2, play Miss Wednesday, sacrifice Mr. 2, play Mr. 1. And then you're basically going to be hitting a pretty big body out of the way. You're getting rid of something pretty big. So I really like the combo. I think it's very fun to play out. Very different from what traditional black decks are trying to do. Our next card is Mr. 5. Mr. 5 is a 2 of, and it is a 5 cost 6k power 1k counter blocker. On play, if there's a character with a cost of 0 or with a cost of 8 or more, draw 2 cards, then trash 1 card from your hand. Very similar effect to Miss Golden Week. What I like about this is that so what I like about the Baroque Works effect is that it's looking for characters that are either 0 cost from either 0 to 8 cost or more. So, or with a cost of 8 or more. Okay, there we go. So it's either looking for 0 costs or an 8 cost or more. So it's a pretty big range. You don't always have to use your leader ability, which I appreciate. That it's not always looking for a 0 cost, that it's has a little more wiggle room. But in return, the wiggle room is like at 8 cost and above. So, you know, it is, you take it where you can. So I'm not gonna complain too much about it, but I do like that it's not a hard lock to 0 cost characters, that there is some wiggle room, even if the wiggle room is not to your favor. Anyways, our next card is the card we've been talking about for a while, is Miss All Sunday. Is a 7 cost 8k power 0 counter, and it has an on play as if your leader type includes Baroque Works, play it to 1 character with a type including Baroque Works with a cost of 4 or less, and up to 1 character with a type including Baroque Works and a cost of 1 from your trash. So nice thing about this, I literally just said the combo. The combo I like to focus on is the Miss All Sunday into Mr. 2 into Miss Wednesday into Mr. 1. So it's like a 3-card combo, well 4-card including this. You could also do Mr. 5. You could do the Mr. 5 in like Miss Valentine's, Mr. 5 and Miss Golden Week if you really want to, Mr. 5 and Miss Wednesday. It's very flexible. This card is extremely flexible, so I like playing this at 4. Originally I played this at like 2, and because I was so focused on the 8 drop, I really wasn't thinking about Miss Wednesday, but I think our Miss All Sunday. But Miss All Sunday ends up being kind of the linchpin of the deck. Honestly, if you're not liking the 8 cost, you probably just want to play the 7 drop. Honestly, on your 8 Dawn turn, if you're at 8 Dawn, you probably want to play the 7 drop first. Just because you get so much value, so much board presence with it, that it really does make a big difference. Our next one is going to be the next card that is probably, the next card is going to be like a weird tech card that I've seen people talk about in the past and that I've been testing out. I think I like it. My issues with this card, with this next card, is that I have a hard time figuring out when I want to play it, especially because the list is so tight, the play pattern is so tight, you don't get a chance to play out Kobe, which is our 8 drop. Hey Blaze, how are you doing? Right now I'm going through my collection. We're going through the standard cards, and I'm currently going through Crocodile, and I'm showing off the one card that probably a lot of people are not going to be a big fan of, but I think I like in the list because it's Kobe. So Kobe 8 cost 9k power, no counter, on play. Up to 1 of your characters can also attack active characters during this turn. So a lot of times I like the on play, but I tend to sometimes miss the trigger, because when you're playing Crocodile, sometimes you want to attack with Crocodile, KO Crocodile, play him back, and then try to get Kobe out to actually, you know, get an extra attack in. But again, timing can be a little weird. I think the way you want to do it is you want to play out your Miss Wednesday, you want to play out Robin first, then you want to play out Kobe, letting your Robin attack an active character, and then play out your Crocodile, and then move on with your life, that kind of stuff. This is a bit of a weird card. I'm not sure if it's going to stay in. In fact, this is probably going to end up getting changed out for the new zombie Luffy that's coming out. That's coming out in OP 15. So this is probably not going to be here for much longer. It was a very fun test card, but I think that zombie Luffy is just going to be the better card overall. But anyways, the next ability is when attacking, you may play two cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. Up to 1 of your leaders or characters gain 1k power during this until the end of your opponent's next turn. So I would say the activate main is a little bit better for Crocodile. It's probably one of the main things that I like to do with this leader, or with this character, because as I said earlier, like Shirahoshi is here to keep us from milling ourselves out. Kobe could do the same thing just to make sure we don't mill out. And it does put us at 6k power for our opponent's turn, which makes it a little harder for us to swing in, or for them to swing into us. With the new cards in OP15, it's a little more difficult to, because a lot of leaders in OP15 are going to be like pushing like 9k now that we saw. And a lot of characters we saw with Sky Island Luffy, that's going to be, if you're not careful, it's going to be pushing like 16k. So while I do like the leader protection that you can use this for, like you can make your leader a little tankier so it doesn't get hit as easily, or you can make one of your other like big swingers a little harder, make them a little more aggressive when swinging in. So Kobe I think is good in the list. I don't think I'm going to keep it just because the new zombie Luffy does so well in the new set. But yeah, there's Kobe, very likely to get cut, but I think he works well for the list overall. I just, sometimes the timing can get a little weird with him. Anyways, Crocodile, literally the whole reason why you want to play this deck. And secret green card, honestly this is a green card. If I've ever seen a green card, this is it. What makes it a black card, I think, is the fact that it can reanimate itself. But honestly, give it like a year and I guarantee you green cards will reanimate themselves too. But Crocodile is a 8 cost 10k power, no counter, on play. Up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 9 or less cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next end phase. Then, if your opponent has a character with a cost of 0 or with a cost of 8 or more, draw 1 card. Super easy to trigger. Like by the time you're playing this, you don't even have to worry about 0 cost characters at that point because your opponent has already played 8 cost characters or more. I also like that it's like 9 costs or less. Very like, the only thing that's getting away from this Crocodile is a 10 drop. And I like to argue that 10 drops are just, with the new meta, I don't think 10 drops are going to be as frequent as people might think. And a 9 cost, I'm even arguing that 9 costs might be a little too much for people nowadays. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, like Ace. Ace, of course, is always going to be an exception. As long as Ace has their 8 cost stage or the 8 cost event, they're always going to have 10 cost characters, 10 cost Whitebeards ready to play. But anyways, the on KO effect, you may trash 1 card from your hand, play this character from your trash. So obviously, very easy with Crocodile. This is basically, by the end of the game, this becomes your strategy. Very similar to like Emu, where your strategy devolves to just spamming 10 drop elders. Crocodile basically devolves to spamming 8 cost Crocodile over and 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 over, freezing the board as best as you can. And I used to have a Kuzan list. I used to have a Kuzan deck, and this feels so much better than Kuzan. Kuzan does something similar where there's you play the 6 drop Kuzan, then you play the 8 cost Garp that plays the 6 cost Kuzan, and then you're basically just freezing the board for the next like 3 turns. This feels like once you get to 8 Dawn, you're basically gonna indefinitely freeze the board because you're constantly KOing this, you're constantly playing it out, you're constantly getting the on KO effect and on the on play effect. I think the only downside to this character is the fact that it doesn't remove a body, it just freezes the body. Granted, it freezes the body for the turn, I believe. Until your opponent's next end phase. Yeah, so it'll freeze it. They won't be able to use it. And this is extremely weak against Blackbeard. If Blackbeard ever gets back into the meta, Crocodile is screwed. Because like, these are all on play abilities, more or less. Like, these 3 are on KOs. But everything else is an on play, including this. And technically on KO, but if your Blackbeard is negating the effects of characters, it doesn't matter. But yeah, really like this deck. Just gotta pray that Blackbeard never comes back, that it stays out of relevance, hopefully. And then next cards are just gonna be events. So, Disappointed is our 1 cost searcher. Is a look at the top main, look at the top 3 from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 type, including Baroque works. Other than this, and then add it to your hand, then trash the rest. Standard searcher. I mean, obviously, same thing as Miss Valentine's. Nothing crazy. It has a trigger as well. The trigger is basically activate the main effect. So occasionally you get to trigger it. I don't know why you wouldn't want to trigger it if it's in your life. Our next one, Ground Death. We actually just talked about Ground Death like with the last deck. Ground Death, I think it's going to be in every black deck going onwards, especially now that black is focused so much on the trash now. I don't see a reason not to play this as a 4 of in every black deck moving forward now, you know, because you always have a 4K counter pretty much active at all times. And then on top of that, you get to negate the effect of something at some point. Granted, it's a 5 cost or less, but if you want to put in some like cost reducers in the deck, like Hina is getting rotated into the next set. So if you want to play Hina and then do this, I played as a 2 of, or played that as a 2 of in what? In Emu. Okay, it took me a second. I had to pull this apart. There we go. I play it as a 4 of in Emu. I don't see a reason not to play it as a 4 of, because in Emu, I'd like it in Emu because it's basically just extra copies of your It Never Existed event. And even if it's not, even if you don't want to use it as like a counter event, you could just deactivate something on your opponent's field. Like you can turn blockers off with this. Paying 3 Dawn to turn off a blocker is so good. I really like this. I find it hard not to play it as a 4 of in any black deck. I also play this in my mono black Navy Luffy list, just because like there's a lot of board protection now, and a lot of board protection tends to be 5 or less. And then of course you can adjust the cost in Navy removal decks. So I really like it. This is the card where I'm like kind of iffy about. I think it's still worth playing in the list. Like I think specifically for Crocodile, this is worth playing. It is Patchwork, Hatu Kotori Patchwork. So I basically just call it Patchwork. It's a little easier for me to say. It's a 1 cost event. Give up to one of your opponent's -3 costs during this turn. Then up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0 will not become active in the next refresh phase. Trigger, draw 2 cards and trash 1 from your hand. Trigger is okay. It is basically just like a little mini version of your Crocodile. It's really easy. Also, it's really cool to be able to chain this with your Crocodile. So you play your Crocodile, you KO it, you play your Patchwork, you freeze something else. So you're freezing like 3 bodies when you play out your Crocodile for the first time. So I like it. I know a lot of Crocodile players have started to move away from it. I don't know why. It's so good. But even as a trigger, like you can probably trigger this. If you're not a big fan of it, you could probably just trigger it from life. Having this be like a life trigger is kind of worth it. But yeah, there's Crocodile. I mean, that's pretty much everything. Here are the Dons that I play. And my only critique of this whole deck, I have to go because I must do a few things right now, but I couldn't miss your stream. Have a good rest of the day. Hey, thank you, Blaze. I appreciate you dropping by. I hope you have a good day too. I will catch you at the next one. I got like one more deck to look at, but the next deck is kind of like, you know, it's like on the chopping block, so don't worry about it. I'll catch you in the next stream. So have a good one. But anyways, my only problem with this whole deck is that it is so cookie cutter. This is like 99% of what Crocodiles look like. The only cards that are kind of weird are basically the ratios of these two and this being in the deck, which is going to get cut in the next set, because this is going to basically get replaced with Zombie Luffy. But other than that, like 90% of the cards here are just what you're going to see in the average Crocodile list. So that's been my biggest issue with current One Piece decks, is the fact that they're all kind of cookie cutter. There really isn't a lot of room to experiment like we used to have. A lot of like decks from like what, EBO 12 and below, or I guess OP 12 and below, OP 11 and below. There was a lot of variations. There's a lot of ways you could build those leaders because they were pretty open-ended. But since like Carry On His Will, since like OP 13, OP 14, it's all been kind of cookie cutter. Like the decks have kind of been pre-made for you and you just have to go buy the box for it, essentially. So I'm not a big fan of that design philosophy. I like when deck lists look different. And Sanji's a really good example of that, where Sanji's vastly different from each player. And it took like a couple of months to crack the Sanji list. But with Crocodile was basically solved day one. And it's strong. I like the ability. But now we're kind of limited to what Bandai decides. Like Bandai basically has the keys to this whole thing, and they get to decide like what upgrades we get to make in the future. And I'm not a big fan of that design philosophy, but for a standard deck, I think for like a standard meta deck or a standard deck you can play right now, it's fine. It plays pretty well. It kind of breaks the color pie, but that's about it. But I just dropped a card. That's fun. Where did it go? There it is. Oh, don't want to lose these ground deaths because these bad boys were expensive. If you didn't know, ground deaths used to cost like $4 a pop. I didn't pay $4 a pop. I paid, I think, $2 a pop, but still $2 is a lot for an event, especially a rare event. I was very disappointed. In fact, I paid a lot for this deck. I paid more than I was expecting to pay because I didn't get to pay like the $5 that this crocodile is now. I paid like $10, which $10 for crocodile, it was a secret rare. I'm like, okay, $10 for crocodile, that's not bad. I have some trade, but man, I was not happy. I was not happy buying the cards at such a premium. But it was not the end of the world because like literally the rest of this deck was like pennies on the dollar. So most of this was like relatively cheap. I think the most expensive cards were just the crocodiles. Even the Miss All Sundays I think were like $5. I got them at $5 and I'm like, $5, that's fine. You know, a super rare for $5 is not unheard of. I would be okay with paying that. $10 for a secret rare, not the end of the world. But yeah, the prices have obviously tanked since I bought these cards. So let that be a lesson to everyone watching. Always wait as long as you physically can. I waited a month and I still paid premium prices. But I'm anticipating that One Piece is going in a good direction, and I don't think product is going to be that expensive or hard to get your hands on. That's my hope and prediction for the One Piece community, is that we're going to get an influx of product that is going to hopefully just drive away the scalping culture from it. But you never know. I mean, obviously there are always going to be people who are collecting, always people who are going to be scalping. But I think the next set going forward, I don't really see that happening. I think the last card that's going to get scalped is going to end up being like Borsalino. I think the yellow Borsalino is just going to be another one of those like $40 super rares or rare, whatever he is. But yeah, there's Crocodile. But yeah, I have a feeling that Borsalino will be the last. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that Borsalino is the last of these like overpriced cards. But we never know. God, I don't like this leader. I always get a little frustrated when I look at Nami. This leader always kind of frustrates me. There we go. The only thing different about this is that we're using a Game Genic. I forget what this one's called, but it's just a Game Genic box. It doesn't have like a dice tray or anything. It's just like a standard box that has the cutout for this. I don't even think the Dawn are all that different. Well, the sleeves are a little different. These I'm okay with showing because this is just the art that Oda did, and I like this. So this is one of the main reasons why I've been keeping the deck list alive. Some kind of like straw hat list alive, because I really like these sleeves and I think they look very silly. And the Dawn, is this the Dawn set? Yeah, it is. Okay. So I just have standard gold Dawn or foil Dawn. These are just standard foil Dawn. Here's the One Piece Day Dawn from the recent One Piece Day. As you can see, it's all dated and everything. This looks really good in person. I'm a fan of this. I actually really did think about buying like 9 more of these, but I figured, you know, these are about like similar, like $8 a pop. Like these aren't that crazy expensive. I'm pretty sure they've dropped in price now as well. But yeah, this looks great in person. I love the way this looks. And I might consider getting a playset of this, but for now, like I have this one card and then like just standard foil Dawns, nothing crazy. And also I have the, does he have his name on here? Mims art. This is the Brazilian artist that I have a couple of leaders of. I have a Yamato leader as this as well. And I super love the casual look, playful casual look of this. It has a bit of like silver foiling as well, which is really, really nice. I love the layout, how playful the layout is of the cards. Paper Dawn recently started adopting this style of card design, where you don't put the standard one piece, like I'll show you right now actually. So this is something I'm really happy that artists have started to adapt, is like the secret layer effect, where they're no longer like following the standard layout for a leader design, where we can kind of break the mold of like, oh, we have the map in the background, we have to have this border, we have to have the text here, the name here, the attack here. I really think Mims was the first one to really break the layout design of this and have fun with it, where we have the name up here, power, we got the colors down here, the typing here, life here, and then all the effects are just kind of like free flowing. And Paper Dawn, which is the artist who did this one, has started to adapt that style of card design, and I really like that. It makes your leaders really pop, really unique. So I always encourage artists that are going to do proxy leaders to break the mold. But anyways, Nami. A couple of things I want to say about Nami is I like Nami. I like the leader Nami. This is the one I pulled from a pack. I was able to pull this from a pack. I was quite happy about that, especially at the time. It was a $60 card, and it's now like, I think it's now a $100 card. Nami tax, I'm not surprised by it. I don't think I would have bought this at 100, but I would have easily bought this at 60. I would have bought this at 60 and been more than happy to bite the bullet for this one. I want to see if I can show the foiling without like doxing myself. But yeah, let's read the leader real quick. And then, so Nami, 5 life, well, 4 life, 5k power. As your turn, once per turn, this effect cannot be activated when this effect can be activated when a card is removed from your opponent's life cards. If you have 7 or less cards in your hand, draw a card. Pretty good. Very easy in yellow to force your opponent to take a life card. Then you just get to draw. Also, if they take damage, anytime a card leaves their life field, basically, you get to draw a card. As long as you had 7 or less cards. Attach 1 Dawn, your opponent's attack. On your opponent's attack once per turn, you may trash 1 card from your hand. This leader gains 2k power during this turn. Super defensive. Tank. Very tanky lady here. Very versatile, very open-ended. I love this style of leader. This is from what? OP11. OP11 was like one of the last unique leader designs where you had open-ended leaders that really didn't care what the cards look like in the deck, which both help and hurt this list, especially being yellow. Yellow infamously has some of the most expensive cards in the game, and having such an open-ended leader means that you have access to all of them with almost no restriction. As a disclaimer, this Nami list is not up to date. I'm in the process of updating this list, but as you can imagine, getting my hands on Nami, the 5-cost Nami, getting my hands on the 7-cost Robin, and getting my hands on the future 5-cost Borsellino is going to be quite difficult. We're already looking at like probably like $300 to $400 and just these 3 cards alone. Nami very likely is going to be the cheapest of the 3. Borsellino, we have no idea. Borsellino is going to be whatever the market decides the price is going to be. Namis are slowly crawling down from $40 a pop. So once Nami, my goal, you know, Magical Christmas Land, that the 5-cost Nami drops to about $20, and that's when I'm going to probably pull the trigger on it. No guarantees that I will, but that's when if I don't end up disassembling this list, I will definitely be trying to get my hands on that Nami when it's around $20 or so. Ideally, when the second burst of EBO 2 comes out, or when they eventually reprint them, I'll be getting my hands on them. So there's going to be a couple of cards in here, and then also, like, as a heads up, this is supposed to be the Nami searcher. You'll understand why this is the supernova searcher in a minute. But other than that, it's a fairly like, oh god, I haven't looked at this deck in a while. This is one of my issues with Nami. Nami is one of those decks that it's always in the process, in the works. This is always like work in progress. This deck is always a work in progress. This deck never feels like it's finished. This was the issue I had with Red Purple Luffy. Red Purple Luffy never felt complete, never felt like it was finished, because in every new set they make something relevant for the leader. They make something for the leader to take advantage of, and I can't stand it. It's too expensive. Makes me it really grinds my gears. But that's enough complaining about this leader. I'm on the fence about keeping this together, but we'll see. So first card, I'm just gonna look at it at the order I had it. First one is, what is this? What's the point of living? We'll call it What's the Point of Living. It's a 1-cost event. Main, you may rest one of your Dawn cards. If you have 1 or less life cards, your opponent cannot activate blockers whenever your leader attacks during this turn. So you gotta understand why this is so important, why I have this. I mean, it's a 2 of, but the reason why I'm gonna keep this in the list is the fact that the main effect is a 2 Dawn investment to permanently turn off your leaders, your opponent's blockers for that turn. Because the way this is worded, if you attack with your leader first, your opponent can no longer activate blockers for the rest of the turn. That is how that's basically the translation of this, that if you have 1 or less life cards, your opponent can't activate blockers whenever your leader attacks during this turn. So when your leader attacks, your opponent can no longer activate blockers for the turn. So the way you want to do it is you want to play this out, then you want to attack with your leader, or hold on. Yeah, I think this is how you, again, I haven't played this deck in a while, but I believe that's the effect. You attack with your leader, you either play this before or after you attack with your leader, and then the rest of your characters can attack unimpeded by your blockers, by your opponent's blockers. And then of course it has the counter event. Your leader gains 3k power during this battle. That's a nothing, it's whatever. It's primarily the main effect that I'm going after, because it's essentially like a semi-perm, it's like a turn off all blockers for the turn effect, which is pretty big. For 2 Dawn, that's huge. And in the future, this will probably end up getting banned or restricted in some way, shape, or form. Once people actually start doing that, or if the rules are explained in a certain way, it's very possible that I could be mistranslating this or misunderstanding it. But from the way I've seen it played, is that it will, if your leader is attacking, then your opponent will not be able to activate blockers for that turn. So that's why I'm playing it at 2 of. I managed to get this art version of it. I have a feeling that this is going to end up costing a lot in the future. That's why I'm thinking about selling this deck. Our next one is the one who is the most free is the Pirate King. This is not, this is outdated. This is not really supposed to be here. This is getting upgraded to the Nami Searcher, the Nami Searcher event, which is basically pay 1 Dawn, search the top 5, grab a character or grab a card with a cost of 2, between a cost of 2 to 8, and then put it to your hand and place the rest of the bottom of your deck. This was basically when Nami was a Supernova deck, and then it has a trigger of activate main. I don't know if the Nami event has a trigger effect, but this one does. But yeah, this is getting replaced in a couple of days. Our next card is another card that's going to get replaced relatively soon, is our 10 cost new gate. It's a 10 cost, 12k power, no counter, blocker. On play, draw 2 cards, then trash 1 card from your hand. Then give your leader and 1 character up to 2 Rest of Dawn cards each. So you're drawing 2 cards, trashing a card from hand, and you're giving your leader and another character 2 Rest of Dawn, a total of 4 Dawn. So this is pretty big. Obviously, Nami, when it has Dawn attached to it, is using its other ability. So this is kind of just like a, you know, this is not young girl, this is big girl, this is old girl, this is Whitebeard. But this is getting replaced in the future with that new 10 drop Luffy. And the reason is because it turns our leader into a 9k body on our opponent's turn. Because with the Nami effect, we get to buff our leader by 2, and then the Luffy buffs our leader by another 2. So that's why I'm replacing Newgate with the new 10 drop Luffy, the Gear 5th Luffy that's coming out in the next set. I think it's going to work better for the list, and it's technically a 9 drop most of the time, so we get to keep a Dawn up if we want to use this as a counter event. But yeah, playing this at 4 of, I'm going to be replacing this relatively soon, but honestly, this is probably one of the cards you want to keep in the deck for a while, and including this one. This is another one that you probably also want to keep in the deck. I'm gonna be replacing this with Borsalinos when they do come out, but for now, Marco is just generic good blue stuff, good blue blockers. At 4 cost, 6k power, no counter. It has blocker, and then it has on KO, draw 2 cards. Just generically good. I have this at 4 of. Really expensive to get our hands on. Really expensive for me to get my hands on, but you know, I got some good guys who sold it for a little cheaper than what market value was, so I was happy with that. Our next card, but yeah, this is getting cut for Borsellino. Next card is also going to get cut. Is, well, actually, it may or may not get cut. Is Nojiko. Nojiko is a 2-cost 0k power, 1k counter on play. If your leader is Nami, return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less to its owner's hand. So, if like Red Rock gets banned or if Pudding gets banned, I'll probably end up keeping this in the list. But for now, this is getting replaced with like either Namis or Robins whenever those come out. Because I have such a tight list, I have to cut this. I know this is like an auto include for Nami, but I won't be able to include this into my Nami list. Our next card, which is also getting cut. So I'm showing you all the cards that are getting cut first because these are all getting replaced. Well, minus this is probably going to stay, but the rest of this is probably going to get cut, including this. Kazuki Odin is from the Ace and Whitebeard starter deck, I believe. But anyways, it's Kazuki Odin, 7-drop, 8k power. If this character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may trash 2 cards from your hand instead. Not too bad. It keeps Nami at 7 or less cards in hand, so not the end of the world. You can protect it once at least. I would at least recommend protecting it once if you have a decent hand size. Activate main once per turn. You may rest 3 of your Dawn cards and return up to 1 character other than this card to its owner's hand. Set this character as active. Usually we're trying to bounce back our not relevant bodies, so Nojiko would be a good example in this case, where we could restand Odin and swing again. So similar to 9-cost Green Zoro, but a little cheaper and not as effective, but almost as effective. Good card. Good card. Obviously, this is going to replace with like Nami and Robin. It's actually going to be like a split, something similar to this, where we're going to have, this would be the yellow Luffy, the new 10-cost Luffy. This is going to be Borsellino. This is going to be Robin, and this is going to end up being Nico, or this is going to end up being Nami. This is going to end up being Nico Robin. I know that's a lot of weird stuff to talk about. None of these cards really are going to stay in the list, but just as like context, those are the plans in the future. So we really don't need to be looking at these anymore. Honestly, this deck really upsets me because it's, like I said, this is a work in progress deck. Look how many cards I have to replace. I have to replace all these cards. All this, not useful for my deck. I mean, it's playable, which I'm happy about, but all those cards are not supposed to be there. So here's the actual core of the deck. So the actual core of the deck is also a little bit weird. It is, we're going to be starting with our Capone Gang Beiji. Is a 1-cost 0k power, 2k counter on play. You may add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of, Add one card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Okay. Add up to 1 supernova type character card from your hand to the top of your life face up. Very important for the strategy we're going to be going into. Our next card is going to be, and actually this might end, no, I don't think I'm going to replace that. It's a 2k counter. This is going to be our next 2k counter is Hiyori. It's a 2-cost 0k power, 2k counter on play. You may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hands. Add up to 1 card from your hand to the top of your life cards. Similar effect, not supernova locked. You can see there's a bit of a strategy going on. There's something going on here. We're cooking with something weird. Next one is Otama. Is a 2-cost 0k power, 2k counter, activate main. You may rest this character and add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Up to 1 of your leaders or character gain 3k power during this turn. Trigger, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Trigger is good for like low cost bodies, low cost blockers specifically. And the activate main is a good way to be aggressive with your Nami. So it's only a 2 of. I don't think it's the end of the world. Basically, this became like a 2-2 split between these two because I wanted to stay aggressive, but I also wanted this as well. So we still have the coverage of a 2k counter in hand while still staying aggressive with these two. Our next one is probably the one that's you would expect to see is Girl. This is the promo one. This is not the winner's one, as you can tell, because it looks like crap. You see, this is what the winner card, or this is what the pre-release card looks like. The one that's almost like 30 bucks. It's just a standard white bordered card. Looks terrible. In my opinion, it looks terrible, but it's expensive to get your hands on. Thankfully, I only paid $7 for mine, so I'm happy about it that it looks so terrible. Not even foil, you know, F us, but whatever. Girl is a 2-cost 0k power 1k counter. On play, draw one card, then trash one card from your hand. Activate main once per turn. Give it to one Rested Dawn card to one of your Nami cards. This is going to be a mandatory 4-of. I'm sorry to say it. If you're going to play Nami, you really do need to get your hands on this card. You can use the blue Whitebeard, or no, the blue 2-cost Blackbeard that came from the Dofi starter deck. It's pretty cheap. You can get your hands on it really easily. Similar effect, but it also filters the top cards of your deck. But overall, mandatory. I think this is definitely needed, which is why it costs so much. So part of the Lichpin, the whole reason, so the reason why we're running Beiji, the reason why we're running Hiyori, and the reason why we're running some of the other cards, the reason why we were running actually this Supernova Searcher is because we're running the Kids Luffy. We're running this, specifically just this one card, this one kid from the starter deck 13. Yeah, starter deck 13. I had to make sure. But Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy is a 2-cost 2k power 1k counter. Activate main. You may trash this character. Reveal one card from the top of your life cards. If that card is a Luffy with a cost of 5, you may play that card. If you do, up to one of your leaders gain 2k power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So as you can imagine, you can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. We're getting a 2k buff with this character. We're giving ourselves a 2k buff with this, putting ourselves at 9k. And with the new Luffy, we're going to be putting ourselves at what, 9, 10, 11k. 11k on our opponent's turn. This is probably the only leader that can pull this. Well, this and the starter deck brothers are probably the only characters that can actually pull this off. I saw Eggman start this whole thing, and I liked it so much that I wanted to do it myself, and it has been a nightmare to maintain this deck. As you can see, it's been a nightmare to maintain this deck with all the cards we have to cut from it. Our next one is going to be Pudding. Pudding is, again, not a lot of people like this card. I like this card. I wish it was in every other color. I wish every other color had access to this card. Unfortunately, Bandai just chose not to do that. But anyways, Pudding is just a tech card. It's a 4-cost 4k power 1k counter. On play, your opponent returns all cards in their hand to their deck and shuffles their deck. Then your opponent draws 5 cards. So it's just a hand shuffler. We've seen this a couple. I think we've seen something like this in like Magic and in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you basically try to reset your opponent's hand, force them to basically not have counter in hand. That's kind of the idea, is you want to disrupt their tempo, or you want to mess up their counters when you're going for game with Nami. So if you're swinging at their last lives, you want to make sure that they have only 5 cards in hand. It's 5 random cards. You don't want them to keep their good stuff in hand. Or like obviously with Emu, if your Emu opponent is almost at 10 Dawn, or if they're at 10 Dawn, you want to drop down and Pudding, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to have a 10 Elders in their hand. So really good card. I really do wish that in the future they turn Pudding into a music event that every color has access to. That's my hope, because this card is, I think it is like a pillar. I really do see this as like a pillar of the One Piece card game, and everyone should have access to this thing. I don't think it should be exclusively locked to blue. Anyways, our next card is going to be the Luffy. This is the main Luffy we are fetching from our deck. This is the thing that we're always looking for. That's why we were running this event. This event was purely just here for this Luffy, and then like some of the other Supernova card that we had on the list at the time. But Luffy is a 5-cost 6k power 1k counter. Activate main once per turn. This character gains 2k power until the start of your next turn. Then if you have 1 or more life cards, draw 1 card and then trash 1 card from the top of your life cards. This, honestly, you can activate its effect. It can very easily go for game, but this is only here because of this Luffy, and this Luffy's only here because I want a bigger body to swing with. So that's why that's there. And the cards to enable that effect is going to be Law. Trafalgar Law is a 7-cost 9k power, no counter. On play, reveal up to 1 Supernova type character card from your hand and add it to the top of your life cards face down. Then give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to one of your Supernova type leaders. I wish it wasn't locked to Supernovas. The second part of that ability is a nothing ability, but it allows us to put our Luffy at the top of our life so that we could always guarantee that baby Luffy can pull out big Luffy. So that's why these 2 are here, to get this to the top of our life. Well, these three are here to put this at the top of our life, to then play this out, to then give our leader a 2k buff for our opponent's turn. very good. And then our last card is just a tech card of Red Rock. Red Rock is another one of those cards that, well, actually it's getting rotated out, so it's not going to get banned. It's just going to get rotated as far as I'm aware. But Red Rock is a 6-cost event that has main, plays up to 1 character to the bottom of its owner's deck. Trigger, plays up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. All-Star, really sad to see this go, but ultimately very similar to Pudding. Like, I would love, this is like such a pillar to the One Piece card game that I would love to see this get turned into a music event and put into every single color, because I think every color should have access to these 2 cards. That's the only reason why you want to play blue. Like, the only reason why you play blue something else is because you want to play these 2 cards in it. They're just that good. And ultimately, this is the core of the deck. This is the whole deck, but this is the core. This is what I actually care about in the deck. These cards are getting changed out as soon as I have the patience and like the willpower to pay the money to put the expensive cards in this deck. But man, there you go. There has been my rant. I wanted to save Nami for the last part of the stream, because Nami's the one deck that I get so worked up about. I really grind my gears that this deck is never complete. And I guarantee you in OP16, they're gonna make some other blue or yellow card that I'm gonna have to care about, and then I'm gonna have to reconstruct this whole stupid thing back from square one. It's very frustrating. That's one of the main reasons why I also want to like just sell the cards. I want to get rid of the cards here because it's more trouble than I think it's worth. But if I just grit my teeth and wait for prices to drop, maybe this will be a playable deck one day. I mean, technically right now it is a playable deck. It is playable, obviously. I got 50 cards here. Are they the best 50? Probably not. I mean, this is probably playable, but I'm not happy because it's not the deck I want. I want the deck with the Namis. I want the deck with the Robins. I want the decks with Borsalino. I want the deck with I Requays Our Help. But unfortunately, you know, that's not how the cookie's gonna crumble this time around. And then who knows how this deck is gonna change in the future. It could change in very many different ways. But for now, that is the end of my rant. Hopefully that was a bit coherent. Hopefully you understood. Hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. It's not from a place, it's a place of frustration. Not, you know, I love Nami. I love this leader design. I think it's great. I'm just frustrated with the price, like the price of what it costs to make this deck the way I want to make it. And with the constant updates to the Straw Hat engine. Like, Straw Hats are always getting new cards, and the Straw Hat cards are always going to be good. So it always feels like this deck, until the end of time, is always going to have something to upgrade, something to change in it. But the core of the deck is what I love the most about this. I love the idea of making the biggest butt leader out there and then swinging for game with it. That to me is what's fun about this deck in particular. But anyways, that's going to basically wrap it up for us. So thanks for listening to my rant. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is basically all of my leaders that are currently in rotation that I intend to keep in rotation. Like, these will be updated with ban lists, obviously. These will be updated with block numbers. So as sets rotate out, I'll be trying to keep these 3 decks at least in rotation. The other 4 I'm choosing to keep out of rotation. And I'm really looking forward to the future of these 2 decks. Like, these 2 decks are probably the ones that I enjoy playing the most. This is the one I enjoy playing the most right now. Crocodile is a lot of fun to play. I just wish there was more room to grow with it. But in the same vein, this is kind of like, these are the 2 polar opposites of each other. Infinite possibilities, limited future. Dirt cheap, stupidly expensive. Not even alted out, it's stupidly expensive. And then he was just kind of here hanging out. I do expect this to change. I do expect them to do something with this leader. I don't know what they're going to do with it though. But anyways, thank you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you here. Thank you for hanging out with me for this long, listening to me rant and complain about One Piece for a little while, because these are the decks that, you know, make me the most frustrated. The other ones are just like my babies. I really love playing them. I think they're really fun. And I actually, well, I'm not, well, I could show you real quick. Minor update. But in case you forgot, in the last video, I showed you that I had a mono black Luffy list that was all navy, mono black navy stuff. You can see, but There it is. Alted out Navy list. I actually recently, because OP15 is gonna have a bunch of black straw hat cards, I'm gonna end up, I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna try it out and see if I even like the new list. But for the time being, I did temporarily switch out the leader for Sakazuki, and I have a couple of blue cards coming in the mail to just update this mono black Navy list into a blue black Navy list. It's basically just Hound Blazes. I did get the alts for Hound Blaze because they were like 20 bucks. So I was more than happy to do that. And I'm gonna get to test this out because I never got to play Sakazuki. And since I have the black decks for Navy, I figured I could just get my hands on some Hound Blazes and basically play the deck almost one-to-one. Obviously, I'm replacing the Sanjis that are in here, and I'm also replacing the Garps that are in here because those are the two unique cards to Luffy that will not work with Sakazuki. But anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I will catch you in the next one. So until then, goodbye, adios, sayonara, say la vie, bye, 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 bye.